Welcome to the deep dive. You've handed us an incredible assignment today. We're looking at two massive and distinct fields at once, the urgent state of our environment and the major turning points in human history.
It's quite the synthesis challenge, and
Hmm.
our mission today isn't just to list a bunch of facts. It's to give you the framework,
Yeah.
the really high-impact details you need to walk away feeling truly informed on these huge global pressures.
Exactly. And also the history that shaped the world we're in. So we're breaking this down into two big sections. First, the environmental challenges, and importantly, the path to sustainability.
And then second, we'll analyze 5 specific historical events and why they still resonate so much today.
Okay, let's get into it. And we really have to start with the planet, with those core environmental challenges the sources are flagging.
We have to. And the first one is, of course, climate change. What's so critical here is to understand the actual mechanism.
Not just the outcome.
Right. We're talking about greenhouse gases, mainly carbon dioxide from burning fossil fuels. For energy, industry, transport.
All the things that run our modern world.
Pretty much. And these gases, they trap heat in the atmosphere. It's a direct link between a seemingly small action like driving your car and a global thermal shift.
And the consequences, the sources are clear, go way beyond just it's getting hotter. They focus on systemic changes.
Yes, we're fundamentally altering weather patterns. That means more frequent, more intense, extreme events.
We're talking about heat domes, the kind of flooding we see from heavier rainfall, stronger storms.
Exactly. And we can't talk about climate change without mentioning the ice, the cryosphere. As glaciers and polar ice melt, the planet's ability to reflect sunlight, it's called albedo, is reduced.
So it's a feedback loop.
A very dangerous one. Less reflection means more warming, which means, well, more melting. And this doesn't just raise sea levels, it messes with the global ocean currents that regulate the entire planet's climate.
That brings us almost seamlessly to the next major concern, which is pollution. And this is more than just smoke you can see or trash on the ground.
Oh, much more. The focus now is increasingly on the invisible threats. For air pollution, it's about particulate matter, specifically PM 2.5,
Tiny particles.
tiny airborne particles that are linked to really serious respiratory and cardiovascular diseases. And in our water and on land, the critical issue is plastic, or more specifically, microplastics.
Right. They're just everywhere now.
They're ubiquitous. They're getting into the food chain, and we are only just beginning to grasp the public health concerns.
So we've moved from localized contamination to something that's just pervasive, systemic.
Exactly. Which connects to deforestation. This isn't just an ecological loss, though it is that. It's a huge contributor to climate instability.
Because forests are carbon sinks.
Vital carbon sinks. Think of the Amazon, the boreal forests. When we cut them down, we're not just destroying biodiversity, and we're also releasing centuries of stored carbon straight back into the atmosphere.
And the drivers for that are often economic, right? Clearing land for agriculture.
Yes, often for things like beef or soy production or resource extraction, and it disrupts everything, soil stability, water cycles, you name it.
Which leads right into the final challenge here. Waste, the sheer volume of it.
We are just generating unsustainable amounts of consumer waste. The sources really highlight complex plastics that just don't biodegrade.
And our infrastructure can't handle it.
No. Landfills become huge sources of methane and other potent greenhouse gas, and waste gets into our oceans.
Yeah.
But, the sources do pivot here to the more hopeful side.
Okay.
They stress that mitigating waste starts with individual choices, moving away from a take, make, dispose mindset towards something more circular.
That idea of a circular model is a perfect transition, actually. Let's talk about the solutions, sustainability, and real-world action. How do the sources define sustainability?
The definition is actually quite elegant. It's meeting our current needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own.
It's about balance.
It's all about balance, integrating environmental protection and social equity with economic progress. It's about building resilience.
And the sources make this personal, things like saving energy, reducing water use. But let's look at the bigger implementable solutions. Solar power is a big one.
A huge one. It's clean, it's renewable, it reduces our reliance on fossil fuels. But the real deep dive here is acknowledging the challenges.
It's not a magic bullet.
No.
Yeah.
There's a high initial cost for the infrastructure, and we desperately need better battery storage technology to keep the grid stable when the sun isn't shining.
So sustainability isn't free. It's a necessary investment. Another big action is around waste reduction. Reusable bags, for example. Seems small.
It seems small, but at scale, it's massive.
Yeah.
Look at the example of San Francisco's recycling model. It's not just about putting out a bin.
No, it's much
It's
more.
mandatory composting, aggressive policies to divert waste from landfill. It's a complex, government-supported project that proves you can change consumption patterns.
And then there's tree planting, a sort of ancient solution to a very modern problem.
But scaled up globally. The efforts in India, planting millions of trees in a single day, that's rapid, visible, effective restoration. And trees do more than just absorb carbon.
They improve soil, manage water runoff.
Reduce local temperatures? It's a holistic solution. The key takeaway from this whole environmental piece is that everything is connected, the problems and the solutions.
It's interesting, this idea of managing huge, unexpected global byproducts. It wasn't just invented with plastics. You can see parallels in how societies dealt with the byproduct of information after the printing press. Let's make that jump. Part 2. 5 historical turning points. And we have to start with Columbus in 1492.
Right. And this was so much more than an explorer looking for a new route to Asia. His arrival just fundamentally fractured the existing world structure. It kicked off the Columbian Exchange.
A massive transfer of everything.
Everything. People, plants, animals, and crucially diseases between the old world and the new.
It was not a symmetrical exchange.
Not at all. Europe gained staples like potatoes and maize, which, fueled a massive population boom over there. But for the indigenous peoples of the Americas, European diseases like smallpox were just catastrophic. They led to demographic collapses that paved the way for colonization.
From altering the map, let's jump ahead a few centuries to the French Revolution, 1789. This wasn't just a minor revolt, this was a societal explosion.
It was a perfect storm, really. You had a financial catastrophe meeting philosophical enlightenment. France was bankrupt, partly from funding the American Revolution.
And the tax system was completely unfair.
Deeply inequitable. The burden fell entirely on the common people, the Third Estate. The nobility and clergy paid basically nothing.
And you mix that economic misery with Enlightenment ideas about rights and sovereignty.
And you get a tinderbox. The result was the overthrow and execution of King Louis XVI, the complete dismantling of an absolute monarchy.
And its impact went far beyond France.
Oh, absolutely. Despite the horrific violence of the Reign of Terror, it gave the modern world its political vocabulary. Liberty, equality, fraternity. It challenged the divine right of kings and created the blueprint for future democratic movements everywhere.
Let's turn to a different kind of revolution, an intellectual one. Johannes Gutenberg's printing press, around 1440.
This is often called the most important invention of the millennium, and I think that's fair. Before movable type, knowledge was controlled.
Right, books were incredibly rare and expensive, copy by hand.
So education and critical thought were essentially limited to the church or the super wealthy. Gutenberg changed the speed, the cost, and the scale of information overnight.
And it wasn't just poetry he was printing.
No, it was technical knowledge and, critically, different interpretations of religious texts. It fundamentally decentralized authority.
By making the Bible accessible to individuals?
Exactly. It directly fueled the Protestant Reformation by breaking the church's monopoly on interpretation. And it accelerated the scientific revolution, allowing scientists to share and build on each other's work faster than ever.
Okay, now we have to move to a much darker turning point. World War II, 1939 to 1945.
The deadliest conflict in human history. It was triggered by Nazi Germany's invasion of Poland, but its implications just reshaped the entire globe.
I mean, millions of lives lost. But the sources also focus on the structural outcome.
Yes, the war didn't just end. It fundamentally remade global governance. And the dropping of the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that ushered in the nuclear age, a totally new kind of existential threat.
And the world reacted. The lesson of that unchecked aggression led directly to creating institutions like the United Nations.
And the whole financial system built at Bretton Woods. It also set the stage for the Cold War and the rise of two global superpowers.
Which brings us perfectly to our final turning point, a triumph of technology born directly from that Cold War rivalry, the moon landing in 1969.
NASA's Apollo 11. That moment, Neil Armstrong's words. It wasn't just a scientific achievement. It was a massive political and psychological victory.
It showed what humanity could do, something that was basically science fiction a few years earlier.
And think of all the secondary benefits. The R&D for the lunar mission spurred incredible innovations in computing, materials science, telecommunications, things that are foundational to our world today. It was just a peak of collective, goal-oriented human effort.
You know, the source material also gives us some guidance on how to actually talk about history. It says it's not enough just to know the dates.
That's right. The method is to master the basics, the who, what, when, where, but then you have to focus on the impact. Why did it matter then? And maybe more importantly, why does it still influence our world today?
So we've covered some extraordinary ground, from atmospheric carbon and microplastics to the ideological revolutions of the printing press and the French Revolution.
And if you synthesize it all, the one core lesson across both history and the environment is that change, both catastrophic and transformative, is driven by collective effort.
Whether it's the massive investment for a moon landing or the global agreement we need to manage carbon emissions.
Exactly. All the systems we live in, our governance, our trade, how we share knowledge, they're all legacies of these turning points. But the health of the planet is the turning point we are living through right now.
So we'll leave you with a final thought to connect these two huge topics. Out of everything we've discussed today, from the invention of the printing press and how it decentralized information to the immediate global threat of climate change, which single factor do you believe has the most profound ongoing influence on the world you inhabit right now?
It's a tough one. Think about the systems that factor created or destroyed.
And delve a little further into whatever sparked your curiosity. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.